Hello, Fins, and good afternoon from the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station. Now, as you know, we were supposed to have breakfast with our sharks this morning. They had a few late night snacks, so they wanted lunch instead. That's okay, we can do that. So it is Shark Week here at the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station, and we're so excited. So today, we're gonna do lunch. Tomorrow, we're gonna go diving with the sharks, way cool. And then Thursday, we're gonna look at some biofacts. So shark jaws, megalodon teeth, stuff like that. So my name is Amber. Today, I am here with my friend Danny.
Hi.
Hello. Danny, what do you do here at the St. Louis Aquarium?
So I'm a biologist here at the St. Louis Aquarium. My primary role is taking care of the sharks and rays in our Shark Canyon exhibit. So I do a lot of feeds, dives, and general maintenance on this exhibit.
How in the world did you get into feeding sharks?
So I wanted to work with animals since I was very, very young. So I've done a couple different internships right out of college. All across the country, and then worked at Wonders Wildlife, 3 hours southwest of here, and came here to work with our sharks. So really excited to be here.
We are so happy to have you. Yay. Now, have you ever been scared of sharks?
So with sharks, unfortunately, they're always portrayed as these huge attack animals, these man-eating beasts. And I think that working with them and learning about them is very, very important because you develop a respect for these animals and realize that they're not quite the monsters that they're portrayed to be.
I mean, they're trying to say hi to us right now, so. Okay, so we're gonna feed them lunch today. But before we start, why aren't they just eating the other fish in their habitat?
So sharks in their native habitats are eating 1 or 2 meals a week, and they're usually large meals. Here at St. Louis Aquarium, we're feeding them a lot of smaller meals throughout the week. So they're getting fed 5 to 7 times a week. So they're getting those small meals. It's a lot like if you didn't eat all day and ate dinner, you'd be ravenous. But if you ate breakfast and a couple different snacks throughout the day, you'd find that hunger a lot more manageable. So since sharks are only eating when they're hungry, we're definitely monitoring how much food they're taking in, so they're not feeding on their friends.
So everyone's safe in here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So is there an order in which the sharks are fed every day?
Yeah, so usually we have a team feed, so we're feeding these guys almost concurrently. Sometimes we do feed them in a stepwise process. So I think today we're going to be feeding our Blacknose Sharks first.
Blacknose eat first?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about the Blacknose Sharks.
So Blacknose Sharks are called Blacknose Sharks because of a black spot that's on their rostrum or their head. As they get a little bit older, that black spot does kind of fade a little bit. They are found in the Western Atlantic, usually around sandy bottoms. They are a very quick shark, so very fast.
I see it. They're moving pretty fast for their lunch.
So these guys are very quick. They're usually feeding off of like bait ball fish, so things like capelin or schooling fish, sardines, things like that.
And how are you feeding them right now?
So we are using a pole feed. So they are trained to come to a station. So they're currently being fed in their station. We attach the food to a pole and then we lower it down to them. Now, the station is a training method that we use to be able to monitor how much they're eating, who's eating, and then also just to get eyes on these animals, just make sure they're all doing okay, they're looking great, and we can just keep better track of them that way.
How big will they grow?
So they can grow up to about 4 feet long. Our guys are almost fully grown. They have a little bit of growing left to do. But yeah, they are one of our smaller shark species.
How much do they weigh?
So our guys weigh around 15 pounds-ish. They can get up to about 24 pounds.
Okay, cool. It looks like they're really enjoying their lunch here.
Oh yes, they get very excited. Like I said, they're very, very quick. So they're very agile and nimble, and they can definitely like bend a lot of different ways to get that food. So
Do they share?
they share pretty well. A lot of it is just being quick, monitoring who's getting what all at the same time. So it can be a little challenging to feed them, but.
Are there sharks that might not get fed during this feeding time, or do you try and hit all of them with your target feeding?
So that is like the large majority of that target feeding, and a large portion of why we do this is to keep track of who's eating. The way that we do that is we can identify these sharks with identifying characteristics. So sharks have birthmarks and freckles almost like we do. So like our female sandbar, for instance, has a freckle on the top of her, so we can tell her apart that way. So it's just kind of finding those identifying characteristics, being able to tell those guys apart, and then be able to track how, this one got 5 pieces, this one got 1. So trying to track their diet that way.
Yeah, because they're not wearing name tags, right?
Exactly.
Okay, Jossum. Who is next? Who are we going to feed next today?
I think we're doing our zebra sharks next.
Zebra sharks, that sounds amazing.
Yes.
Tell me about the zebra sharks.
Sure. So zebra sharks are called zebra sharks because when they are born, when they're juveniles, they are black and white and have stripes a lot like a zebra. As they grow older, they start developing this lighter color with the spots. And that's how we tell them apart, is they have, just like a zebra, they have very identifying markings. So
they start with stripes and then they turn to spots?
yes, so a lot of different fish and even shark species can change colors as they grow. So they are one of them.
I'm going to start calling them Dalmatian sharks then. So how long can they grow up to?
So they can grow up to 8 feet, and what's really cool about those guys is almost half of that is just tail. They have that very long tail that helps them get through the water. Ours are only about 2 years old. They can live anywhere up to 20 to 30 years, so ours have a lot of growing to do with us.
So is there something special about them? Can they breathe without swimming?
Yeah, so there are 2 different kind of types of sharks. You have sharks that can move water across their gills with what's called a buccal pump, and that's what these zebra sharks have. So these zebra sharks can rest on the bottom and get oxygen through their bodies that way. Then you also have sharks like our sandbars and our blacknose that have to constantly swim through the water. So zebra sharks can be found on the bottom because they can move that water across their gills.
Are we feeding them the same way that we fed the blacknose?
So roughly the same way, the same concept. What's cool about our zebra sharks is they are trained to come to a target. So that target is the, not quite sure if you can see it super well, but it is that orange circle in the water. And it is a special design that's just for them. So they know that they need to come to that target to get food. And what that allows us to do, besides being able to monitor them, is it's something that we can eventually train them to come into a stretcher. So that's something that I'm hoping to do over time. And what that does is, as they get more and more comfortable in that stretcher, if we ever have to do physical examinations or routine blood work, or just check them out, make sure they're doing okay, it makes it a lot more comfortable for them to do that.
So what do they like to eat?
They usually like to eat crustaceans, snails, things like that. They're usually searching in rocky crevices for that. Here we do offer them some fish species as well, because they also like smaller fish, and their favorite, which is squid.
Squid, okay. So where might zebra sharks be found in the wild?
So zebra sharks are usually found in the Indo-Pacific, and then they also off the coast of Australia as well.
Okay, they look pretty happy with their lunch. Look like they're smiling. So when I'm also at the aquarium, I've seen other sharks kind of resting on the bottom in addition to the zebra sharks. What are those?
Those would be our nurse sharks. A lot of times you see our nurse sharks resting on our J window here, or on the other side on the bottom. Nobody really knows how nurse sharks got their name. A lot of people think that it's because of the sucking sound that they make when they suction food in. It sounds a lot like a nursing baby. So that's kind of where we all think that, the term nurse shark came from.
And how big can those get?
So they can get pretty large, up to 300 pounds. They are definitely one of our largest shark species here at the aquarium.
Do they eat the same thing as the zebra sharks?
Yeah, so they eat roughly the same things. They're also picking up a lot of crustaceans off the bottom, a lot of clams, things like that. So we do feed them fish species like mackerel, salmon, bonito, but we're also dispersing a lot of clams and mussels for our zebra sharks and our nurse sharks to munch on throughout the day.
Okay, so who do we see eating right now?
So these are our nurse sharks.
Okay.
They are pretty excited. They usually eat in front of that window, and they are trained with a sound cue, actually. So sharks can hear. So to get our nurse sharks to come over to our station, we actually shake a rattle. And that rattle is a very distinct sound that is used to get their attention and bring them over to their station.
The zebra shark's trying to get in on the nurse shark's lunch.
Yes, we do occasionally get the nosy neighbor.
So tell me more about that. I hear that there is a fish here that likes to eat everyone's food.
Oh, yes, we have a white spotted filefish that is very, very nosy. He usually likes to be involved in every feed in the tank, so we usually see him everywhere.
Okay, and how do you keep from him not eating the shark's food, or does he just
A lot of practice.
He just swims away?
A lot of practice, a lot of focusing very much on getting the sharks the food and not Nigel the filefish.
Oh, Nigel. So do these nurse sharks eat the same thing as the zebra sharks? You said the zebra sharks liked squid the best, so what are the nurse sharks eating?
Mm-hmm. So the nurse sharks are eating some mackerel, so they're eating some filleted mackerel. I believe that their favorite is salmon. They very much like salmon.
Okay, cool. So next is going to be our sandbar, our brown shark, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're going to feed our sandbar and our brown shark. Tell me about those.
Yes. So we have two sandbars, or brown sharks, as they're otherwise known here at the aquarium. We have a male and a female. They are found all over, actually, in coastal areas. And we are going to be feeding them. We have our biologist, Jason. He is feeding them some mackerel. So these guys are trained to come to our J window, and they are pole fed as well. So he is loading the pole with some mackerel and then lowering it down to those sandbars.
Okay, so what are they eating? Just mackerel, like you said?
Yeah, so they get a variety of larger fish. So they're getting salmon, mackerel, bonito, herring. They're getting a lot of larger bony fishes. In the wild, they're also known to eat like smaller rays, eels, things like that.
So are they picky?
Ours are not super picky, no. They're pretty opportunistic feeders. They're pretty much feeding on anything that they can get.
Are any of your sharks here picky about what they're eating?
Not super, no. We are providing them a lot of variety in their feed, which is usually pretty great for their feed response.
Okay, cool. So if you have any questions out there, be sure to put them in the comments. We're going to take some questions soon. So can you tell me where are sandbar sharks found in the ocean?
So they are found pretty much all over, usually around coastal areas, Western Atlantic, all the way down to South America.
Okay. So which would you say is the most fun to feed?
Oh, that's difficult. That is really difficult. They're all pretty exciting. I do very much enjoy the zebra sharks because they are very smart. They're very trainable. They're very responsive to learning new things, and they're very food motivated.
Aren't we all?
Indeed.
Okay, great lunch. So you ready to take some questions from our fins out there?
I am ready.
Okay, so Caden is wondering how many different kinds of sharks we have here.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm going to have to count them all out. So we have our
Let's go.
we have our sandbar, our blacknose, our nurse sharks. We have our zebra sharks. And we also have a white tip shark and one you guys haven't seen yet, which is our bonnethead sharks. So I think we have 6 or 7 species.
Ooh, that's a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Addie is wondering if sharks have beds.
Sharks have beds. So the whole exhibit is their bed. So sharks do sleep. They usually do enter, they don't sleep quite like we do because a lot of them do have to keep moving. What happens is they end up slowing down their swimming, slowing down kind of their metabolic rate, and then they kind of rest that way throughout the night or day, depending on if they're nocturnal.
Okay, so Heather from St. Charles, she wants to know which of the sharks are nocturnal.
So I know for sure that our zebra and our nurse sharks are nocturnal. They're usually hunting in the nighttime.
Okay, cool. We have another question from Connor in Collinsville. He wants to know what sharks use their fins for.
Yeah, so shark fins are used a lot for just being aerodynamic through the water. So they're used a lot for direction. They're used a lot for swimming. And sharks have really cool adaptations where they can actually send out electrical impulses to kind of feel where they're going in the water. And a lot of that is just built into their bodies, their lateral lines, and certain adaptations that they have on their bodies as well.
Okay. So Skylar from Iowa wants to know if, since there's so many different kinds of sharks in the habitat, do they all get along? Are some better friends with each other than others?
So they, for the most part, really do get along. It does help that we are doing a lot with our feeding, and we are splitting them all up into these different stations. So they're all at their own stations, they're all eating their own food, and that really does kind of encourage a good group dynamic amongst everybody.
Okay, so all friends in there. So Ariana is kind of asking the same thing. So we have all these little fish in here, and then also lots of different stingrays swimming around too.
Yeah.
So how do the stingrays and the sharks interact together?
So for the most part, because a lot of these rays and sharks are found in roughly the same distribution, same areas, they are interacting pretty well. And the stingrays also get their own station. So these stingrays are also being fed along with the sharks. And that really does kind of help everybody get along.
Okay. Nora wants to know if they play any games in there.
If they play any games. Actually, what a lot of us keepers like to do is we like to provide what's called enrichment. And enrichment is used to bring out a lot of natural behaviors that you would see. So one of our enrichment devices that we used for our nurse sharks is a popsicle. So we froze a whole bunch of fish and plopped the huge icicle in the exhibit, and the nurse sharks absolutely loved it. So it melts slowly, but that smell is all through the water, so it's getting them really excited, really pumped. And they know where it is, so they're just, trying to find this ice cube, but it's floating. So they're kind of playing with that ice cube, but then also getting rewarded from it. So it's kind of bringing out a lot of that suction, a lot of that hunting. So we like to do a lot of that with our sharks, where we can kind of bring out those natural behaviors, but it's also a little bit of enrichment for us too. So.
Oh yeah, I would love to see something like that. So when we reopen to the public, and we can't wait to reopen, are there any things that you do throughout the day at this window that people can get excited about?
Yeah, of course. So this tank is being fed pretty much throughout the day. So our sharks and rays are all fed in places that you can see. So they're all fed at different vantage points where everybody can kind of catch a shark feed. We also do feeds with our mobile arrays, where we usually have a lot of our fish concentrated over here. And we're also doing dives, which is really cool. You'll get to see a lot of that tomorrow. But we're doing dives throughout the day too. So definitely a lot to check out with this exhibit. A lot going on in here all throughout the day. So something to look forward to.
Fun. So if you remember a few weeks ago, we did a virtual dive with one of our biologists and our curator, Aaron. So he was behind the glass here and we were talking to him. So that is also something that you'll be able to do when we open back up as well. And we're very excited about that.
Yeah.
So do you get to dive in the canyon?
I do, yes. Yes, I am part of our dive team here.
Okay. What's that like?
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. It's very cool to be able to dive with these animals, to be in this habitat with them. It's definitely provides a connection with the animals in our care. It's also a lot of work. It is a lot of work kind of being a biologist. But it's very rewarding because we like to have our guests come in here and learn about conservation and sharks. So,
all right. So Rachel from O'Fallon wants to know if you've ever dove anywhere else, and if so, what's your favorite place?
I have actually only dove in aquariums before.
So her favorite's here.
So my favorite's here. Yeah, besides my certification dives, which were in some springs, which are actually really beautiful. Most of my dives have been in aquariums, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's definitely worth it.
Okay. So Nicole from St. Louis wants to know if when you get in there, is there someone that really likes to kind of hang around you, or do they all just like to hang around you?
There are definitely fish in there that are more curious than others. Our porcupine puffer, which you guys might have seen hanging out in the windows.
Yes, I have.
Very interested divers will come right up to us and say hello. Our Goliath grouper, also likes to be a little bit curious around our divers. So
fun. So fun. Well, great. That was all really great information, and thank you so much for joining us today for lunch with the sharks.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Fun time. So that is the beginning of Shark Week for us. Tomorrow, like I said, we are doing diving with the sharks. So what's going to happen is we're going to have GoPros, so little cameras on some of our divers, and we're going to get really up close and personal with some of our fins inside of their habitat. So get ready for that. That will be around 9:30. Then on Thursday, we are going to do some shark biofacts, like we said earlier. So that's looking at some shark jaws, some shark teeth, really cool things that we've been able to show here at the aquarium. Then on Friday, it's back to regularly scheduled programming with our Quarren stream at 10 a.m. So we'll be showing lots of different habitats, but we're going to focus on Shark Canyon, of course, because it is Shark Week. So today, we will have another quiz and activity posted after we get off here. So make sure to check that out. It's a fun coloring activity of a shark. So post in the comments what colors you made your sharks. I think most of them in here are kind of a grayer color. Hello. But you can put maybe spots on it, like a zebra shark. Do whatever you want. But we want to see, and we will share some too. So thank you for joining us for lunch today, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.